This is absolutely glorious sailing. Flat water, about 14 to 16 knots of wind, and we're making over 7 knots with these nice new sails.
In the last 3.5 years, we have sailed halfway around the world on our 37-foot boat, Florence, exploring new countries, new cultures, and sharing our adventure along the way. In this episode, we leave Thailand and sail to Sabang in the northern tip of Indonesia, where we receive a very nervous welcome.
So this is us leaving Thailand. We're heading for Western Sumatra. Forecast is for very little wind, but we're currently living life on the heel, doing 7.7 knots, so beating the forecast.
Yeah, we're really feeling the benefit of having a clean hull and brand new sails. Florence is going really well. It feels great to be on the move again. It's the biggest sense of freedom for me, setting off on passage when we've got full fuel tanks, fuel water tanks. We've got all of our provisions, basically everything we need for the next couple of months.
Feels like setting off on another mini adventure. I know we're constantly on an adventure, but the last phase in Malaysia and Thailand has been more about maintaining Florence, doing a lot of boat work, getting a lot of spares ready for the Indian Ocean, but it now feels like we're off on an adventure again, setting off, sailing away from land.
Yeah, it feels good to be heading off on an overnight passage.
We've got about 210 miles to go to Western Sumatra, and we're going into the port of Sabang there. Our videos are normally about a couple of months behind reality, so we're actually setting off now in February, and it's the height of the coronavirus. March? Okay. I don't even know what month it is. Okay, we're setting off, it's the start of March, and it's kind of the height of the coronavirus fears, so we are a little bit apprehensive about what we're going to find when we get to Indonesia, and whether or not they're going to actually let us in, or whether or not we're going to have to spend 14 days sat on the boat in quarantine. Hopefully not, but we shall see.
From what I've found online, any boats that have arrived recently have basically just been advised to contact the harbour master, who will then organise for somebody to come and take our temperatures and check that we're not obviously infected, and then we'll be able to go through the regular process.
So, fingers crossed. This is absolutely glorious sailing. Flat water, about 14 to 16 knots of wind, and we're making over 7 knots with these nice new sails. The new mainsail's got a loose foot. It's not trapped in a track on the boom here, and that allows us to get a much better shape in the bottom of the sail, which means more power lower down, which is great for these medium and light breezes. We're just going into our night watches. It's been a lot more wind so far today than we thought there was going to be. Been barrelling along at over 7 knots for most of the way, but it's forecast to drop off to pretty much nothing about midnight, so we're making the most of it. But we certainly didn't expect to have reefs in the main and the Genoa at this point. We expected to be drifting along in about 6 knots of wind.
It's 6 o'clock in the evening, which is the start of our night watches, because we both need to get sleep throughout the night. And I find it really difficult to sleep on this first off watch, especially when we're not on the routine of an ocean passage, because it's still light and we're going along really well, which means that we've got spray coming over the deck, so all of the hatches are shut and it is incredibly hot down here.
So it's morning on day 2 of our passage. According to all of the forecasts we had before we left, we should be sitting in a big hole of no wind right now, going nowhere. So we're pretty pleased with how it's turning out. It's a bit of a leftover swell, so we're rolling about a bit more than we were yesterday. And we're just starting to come across some shipping that's obviously coming up from the Malacca Straits and coming up and going around the tip of Western Sumatra, so we have to keep a good lookout today for ships.
Time spent on passage is often dead time from a productivity point of view. With one of us required to be in the cockpit on watch and the other trying to sleep, we don't get much done apart from reading books.
This flag's a bit tattered from all the time we spent in Indonesia before, so it's going to need sewing up before we can put it up again.
Sewing worn out things back together is something that can easily be done in the cockpit underway and has become a common pastime recently. Other than keeping a lookout, there is little else to do once we've set Florence up, as she sails herself.
So it's the afternoon on day 2, the breeze has dropped off. It's probably going to continue to drop off if we want to keep making progress towards Sabang. And the best option for that is to put the new Spinnaker up, see how this goes. I'm pretty excited about flying this. We've flown it a couple of times already just playing around, but it's the first time out at sea. Hopefully the wind will hold up and it'll actually fly, because it's really dropping off now. That's given us another 2 knots of boat speed. Flying on the beam reach, the old Spinnaker, nowhere near as good as this one. Such a nice shape, this one.
Love this new Spinnaker. Not only is it more beautiful than our old one, but it's so much more efficient.
Might just sit up here on the bow for a bit and look at the Spinnaker.
Yeah. I think this is my favourite out of all of the new sails. Although that's a pretty tough call.
It's the prettiest.
It's also the most fun.
Oh, I don't know, the staysail could be fun.
And it means we're sailing downwind.
Downwind's always good, yeah.
It's time to take down our Thai courtesy flag and put up our Indonesian courtesy flag and also our quarantine flag. And most of the time our courtesy flags are smaller than our own country flag, but that's not the rule in Indonesia. We've got a huge one, but it kind of reflects our love of Indonesia.
We bought it off some friends on a much bigger boat than us.
Yeah.
How you feeling, Amy?
Yeah, feeling much better. Feeling really lethargic earlier, but Matt thinks it's the Spinnaker that's cured it.
Yeah, Spinnaker cheers everybody up. Puts a smile on everybody's face.
I didn't bother to prep any meals before we set off because the forecast was so light, but luckily it's still quite calm.
So what we've got, Amy, looks good.
We've got teriyaki stir-fried pork with some veg and noodles.
Excellent. Looks tasty. Amy does 99% of the cooking on board. I do most of the eating.
That's because if Matt did the cooking, we'd have beans on toast every night, apart from he wouldn't be bothered to toast the toast, so it'd be beans on bread.
I'm not that bad.
Yeah, you are.
So we're coming into the second night. We're merrily sailing along under Spinnaker. We'll probably drop this before it gets dark, just in case any breeze appears. We've been blessed with wind for the whole of this leg, which we were not expecting. The forecast said nothing. And that means we're a lot earlier in arriving to Sabang than we were supposed to be. We were supposed to arrive tomorrow afternoon in daylight, and now we're going to arrive probably about 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, it's going to be quite early.
So normally we don't sail into somewhere at night. But Sabang, we've looked at the pilot guide, and it actually says that you can go into there at night. It is well lit, it's easy to go into, and we've got the satellite images for it as well, which will help us. So we're going to try going in at night, aren't we?
We're going to just go and see what it looks like, and we've got big spotlight and really bright moon at the moment. It's not quite like daylight at night, but you can see quite a long way, can't you?
Yeah, it's full moon, really good light, safe harbour to go into, and we're supposed to be picking up a quarantine mooring as well, so we don't even have to anchor. But if it looks dodgy, we're just going to turn around, come straight back out, and we'll just heave to just off the port for the night. We want to use this wind to actually get there in case the forecast comes true and it actually just dies.
Yeah.
That's the moon already coming up behind us to light our way through the night. With the breeze dropping, we decided to keep the Spinnaker up through the night.
The breeze eventually disappeared and we had to motor the last 10 miles, easily finding the quarantine mooring in the dark at 3 AM. Its red flashing light was really helpful in finding it.
This morning we radioed the harbour master to check in, and we were instructed to go to an old abandoned warehouse. Being told to come ashore at an abandoned warehouse and then being told to walk into this empty, dark, unlit warehouse was actually pretty scary for us. And if all the officials hadn't been in uniform, then there is no way we would have set foot through those doors into that warehouse. It felt really dodgy. We'd have just turned around and gone back. But they were actually all really friendly and helpful. It's just their way of containing any quarantine hazard.
Yeah, I'm not sure who was more nervous, them or us. They initially took our temperature and just asked some screening questions, and then things started to relax a little bit once they realised that we weren't obviously infected. And then the rest of the day has been spent through the usual lengthy check-in process, but it seems that we're now good. We can move around as usual in Indonesia and there aren't any restrictions. So, yeah, the officials in Indonesia quite often get a bit of a bad reputation, but these guys were really professional. Just a bit of an unusual circumstance. There's certainly a lot more fear here now than when we left Thailand a couple of days ago.
Yeah. But thankfully they've let us in. They're now relaxed with us. We're allowed to go about our business and explore the island of Sabang. We just hired a motorbike for the day. Actually the best one we've had in the entire of Indonesia, with helmets that actually fit for a change instead of really small ones.
It is such great value, £6 for the whole day.
And there's supposed to be a waterfall down here somewhere, so we thought we'd just go and tramp through the bush and see if we can take a look. You can smell the bats. thousands of them in the trees above our heads. Smell the bat food. It's pretty hot hiking up here to the waterfall, and because we're trying to be sensitive to the local customs, I'm wearing trousers and Amy's wearing a skirt rather than being in shorts.
Really hot, but because I can't swim in the bikini, I'm going to save my swim until later in the day, and the ocean looks more inviting. But it's really nice to be just out in the trees, and just the sounds of nature here are incredible.
As we're driving along, we just keep driving through this really strong smell of clothes. It's amazing. And along the side of the road, they're actually drying the clothes here, just like they were in Banda Neira.
Sabang is in the province of Aceh, which is a semi-autonomous part of Indonesia. Aceh is a strictly Muslim area, and we were woken each day by the pre-dawn call to prayer, which is broadcast from all the mosques in town. In fact, Aceh is currently governed by Sharia law.
Although this is the first time we have returned to a country on our voyage around the world, Sabang is different again to anywhere else we've been in Indonesia. The fishing boats here are a unique design which we've not seen anywhere else.
We've had a nice trip around the island, but there's not really that much to show you. We think the main nice spot is where we can actually move Florence round to anchor and go for a snorkel.
So we're going to try that tomorrow.
Well, that didn't happen.
Well, that's a first for us. We've just been kicked out of the port of Sabang in Banda Aceh, Indonesia. When we arrived, they were really worried about the coronavirus. They checked us, we got passed by quarantine, and we were allowed to spend almost a week enjoying ourselves there. And then suddenly everything changed with the global situation on the coronavirus, and we were asked to leave. In fact, all the yachts in the port were asked to leave. They were pretty reasonable about it. They allowed us to go ashore and top up with fresh fruit and vegetables and top up our water tanks before we left. But now everybody that was in port is all leaving all in one go. We're not entirely sure where we can go to. We're banned from the whole of Banda Aceh, which is the northern province of Western Sumatra. We believe from word of mouth and research on the internet that the next port that has not yet banned foreign boats is about 300 miles south in the Nias Islands. So that's where we're headed. It's going to take us a few days to get there, and we'll probably be out of internet connectivity on the way, so who knows what's going to face us when we arrive.
Malaysia's also closed their borders
Yeah,
to
so
foreigners.
in Southeast Asia now, everywhere in the world are closing their borders, aren't they? Which, if we lived back in England and we were on holiday, it would be one thing. You've got to get back home somehow on a flight. But for us, we can't just sail back to England. That would take half a year. So we're kind of stuck. We're kind of stateless. Malaysia's close to us. Indonesia at the moment has not revoked our visas, but we can only stay here for 2 months. I doubt they will renew them. Where we go from here, we don't know. So yeah, it's a bit of a strange feeling, really.
A month on from us leaving Sabang, the province of North Sumatra in Indonesia welcomed us. They've allowed us to buy food delivered to the boat and designated an uninhabited island for yachts to anchor at. We may be here for some time. Thank you to the kind and friendly people of South Nias for giving us access to their port during this global storm.
Next time, we make our way south in Indonesia and take self-isolation to the extreme. Desert island, anyone? thank you to everybody who supports us to make these videos possible, and especially to our star patrons:
Alan Becky,
Kate and Peter Adkins,
John Bowler,
Samui Yarvanen,
Paul Stahlberg,
and Robin Reamer.